Hello everyone and welcome back to Hello Word. I am your host Alex, and today we are going to take a deep dive into some useful English vocabulary that revolves around a situation most of us encounter on a daily basis. That situation is roads and traffic, something we experience whenever we commute, travel, or simply take a walk around our neighborhoods. In this episode, we will explore words and phrases that you can use to talk about different elements you see on streets, highways, and pedestrian paths, as well as how to use them in practical, everyday contexts. By focusing on these terms, you will build your confidence in speaking English more fluently whenever you need to navigate your city or discuss transportation topics with friends or colleagues. Before we begin, I would like to offer a few learning tips to help you get the most out of this episode. First, repeat each new word and phrase out loud so that you can practice your pronunciation. Second, try to use these words in your own example sentences, even if you write them down for practice. Lastly, remember that consistent exposure to real conversation is key. Listen for these words when you watch English videos, practice reading short articles about travel and commuting, and speak them whenever you are describing your own experiences. The more you engage with the language, the more naturally it will become a part of your daily speech. Streetlight is the first word we will discuss. Streetlight refers to the tall, often cylindrical lamp found on the side of the road or on sidewalks that provides illumination at night or in areas with low visibility. When you use the term streetlight, you are speaking about the fixtures that brighten roads and make it easier for both drivers and pedestrians to see their surroundings after dark. In daily conversations, you might say something like, "I am glad they fixed the streetlight outside my house because it was too dark at night." Another example sentence is, "The street light on the corner flickered a few times before it turned on completely." One-way street is the next phrase we will examine. A one-way street is a road on which all vehicles are required to travel in the same direction. This type of street is often used in busy city layouts to reduce traffic congestion and prevent accidents. In everyday speech, you can use it in a phrase like, "Be careful when you drive downtown," because some of those streets are one-way streets and you could accidentally go the wrong direction. Another example is, "I had to circle the block because I realized I was on a one-way street that would not let me turn back." Let us move on to pedestrian crossing. Pedestrian crossing, sometimes called a crosswalk, refers to a designated place on the road where people can safely walk from one side to the other. This area is usually marked by lines on the street, and it indicates that drivers must yield or stop for people crossing the road. You might hear someone say, "Please use the pedestrian crossing instead of crossing in the middle of the street." Another everyday example is, "The school is near a pedestrian crossing, so it is safer for students to get to class in the morning." Next, we have pavement, which generally describes the sidewalk or the surfaced path along the side of a road. Pavement is meant for pedestrians to walk on, although in some places, you will also see cyclists using it if bicycle lanes are not available. In common usage, you might say, "I like jogging on the pavement early in the morning because it is smooth and safe." You could also say, "The pavement outside the store is being repaired, so watch your step." Curb is a word that refers to the edge where a raised sidewalk or pavement meets the road. It is that short boundary that keeps cars off the sidewalk and helps guide water into drains. When using curb in daily conversation, you might say, "Make sure to step off the curb carefully and look both ways before crossing." Another example is, "The delivery truck accidentally hit the curb when pulling out of the parking space." Traffic lights are those signaling devices used at road intersections or pedestrian crossings to manage the flow of cars and people by displaying different colored lights, usually green, amber, and red. Traffic lights are essential for preventing accidents and providing orderly passage for both vehicles and pedestrians. If you're describing your daily commute, you might say, "I get stuck at those traffic lights every morning on my way to work." Another relevant example is, the traffic lights were malfunctioning today, so the police had to direct the cars manually. Park as a verb means to bring a vehicle to a stop and leave it in a designated place. Whether you have a car, bike, or motorcycle, when you bring it to a halt and step away, you're parking. In conversation, you could say, I had trouble finding a spot to park downtown, so I had to walk a few blocks. You might also hear someone give advice like, be sure to park close to the curb to avoid blocking traffic. Parked car refers to a vehicle that is stationary and placed in a spot where it is allowed to remain for a period of time. This term is straightforward, but still very useful in describing situations on the road. For instance, you can say, that parked car has been there for hours, and it is blocking the view of the intersection. Another example is, I noticed a ticket on the parked car because the driver did not pay for parking. Road sign is a term that describes the symbol or notice placed along roadsides to guide, inform, or warn drivers and pedestrians. Road signs come in many shapes and colors, each serving a specific purpose, such as speed limits, directions, or potential hazards. You might say, I always pay attention to every road sign when I am driving in an unfamiliar area. Another example is, the road sign indicates a sharp curve ahead, so be prepared to slow down. Road marking refers to any kind of line, arrow, or pattern painted on the surface of the road that communicates information to drivers, cyclists, and pedestrians. These might include lane dividers, turn arrows, or stop lines at intersections. If you are teaching someone how to drive, you might say, make sure you follow the road marking when you change lanes. Another example is, the faded road marking caused some confusion, and a few cars nearly collided. Quiet is a word that describes a sound level that is low, calm, and peaceful, especially relevant when referring to streets or neighborhoods. You can say that a neighborhood is quiet if there is little traffic noise or commotion. For example, you could remark, the street outside is surprisingly quiet at night, which is great for sleeping. Another illustration is, this suburban area remains quiet even on weekends, and that is a nice change from the city center. Tunnel is the next word on our list. A tunnel is an underground or enclosed passage created for cars, trains, or even pedestrians to travel through. Tunnels can be found cutting through mountains, under rivers, or beneath urban areas. In ordinary conversation, you might say, we drove through a long tunnel on our way to the beach. Another instance is, the city built a pedestrian tunnel so people can walk safely under the busy highway. Ticket machine refers to the device where drivers pay for their parking tickets or occasionally where commuters purchase train or bus tickets, depending on the location. This machine typically accepts coins, bills, or cards and then prints out a ticket. You can use it in a sentence like, I forgot to get a ticket from the ticket machine, and I ended up with a parking fine. Another example is, the ticket machine at the station was out of order, so I had to buy my ticket at the counter. Bicycle path is a designated lane or track specifically meant for bicycles to use, ensuring a safer ride away from main vehicle traffic. This term is often used in the context of city planning or when giving directions. You might hear someone say, I really appreciate the bicycle path along the river because it is safer for cyclists and makes for a more enjoyable ride. Another example is, if you want to avoid heavy car traffic, stay on the bicycle path whenever possible. Disabled parking space is a specially reserved spot in a parking lot or along a street for people with disabilities. These spaces are usually placed near entrances to buildings or key facilities to provide easier access. When using this term, you could say, that driver should not have parked in the disabled parking space without a permit. Another sample sentence is, my friend has a badge that allows her to use a disabled parking space when she goes to the grocery store. Bridge describes a structure that spans over a physical obstacle such as a river, road, or valley, to provide passage for vehicles or pedestrians. Bridges come in many designs and can be seen in both rural and urban settings. In daily speech, you might say, "We took a scenic drive across the old wooden bridge by the lake." Another example is, "The city constructed a new bridge to reduce traffic on the main highway." Roundabout is the term for a circular intersection where traffic flows continuously around a central island. Drivers usually yield upon entry and then proceed to their desired exit without stopping if there is no conflicting traffic. In conversation, you might say, "The new roundabout has helped reduce collisions at the intersection." Another sample sentence is, "Slow down and yield to the cars already in the roundabout before entering." Zebra crossing is a type of pedestrian crossing painted with wide white stripes on the road surface, resembling the stripes of a zebra. This crossing alerts drivers that pedestrians may be crossing, and it requires them to stop or slow down. You could tell a friend, "Let us use the zebra crossing for safety instead of jaywalking." Another context is, the local school requested a zebra crossing near its entrance to protect students crossing the street. Emergency telephone is a dedicated phone typically located along highways or in tunnels, intended to help people contact the authorities or emergency services if they need immediate assistance. This telephone is especially useful in areas where cell phone reception might be unreliable. In everyday speech, you might say, "I saw an emergency telephone on the side of the highway in case drivers have car troubles." Another example could be, "The tunnel has an emergency telephone every few hundred yards for safety." We have walked through words that capture so much of what we encounter on the streets and roads in our everyday lives. From the essential role of streetlights and traffic lights in regulating visibility and order, to the importance of pedestrian crossings and disabled parking spaces in promoting inclusivity and safety. These terms give you a solid vocabulary foundation. Understanding and using them in conversation will help you describe what you see around you and navigate traffic situations more clearly in English. Before we wrap up, I encourage you to embrace these new words and phrases and keep practicing in real-life scenarios. Maybe you can take a short walk around your neighborhood and point out each element we discussed. The more you name and describe each item, the more seamlessly these terms will become a part of your daily English usage. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Hello Word. If you found it helpful, be sure to subscribe so that you never miss out on our upcoming episodes, where we will continue exploring a wide range of everyday English words and phrases. We will keep diving into topics that matter to you in your daily life, whether you are at work, traveling, or just enjoying time at home. Finally, I would love to hear your thoughts and experiences. Feel free to leave a review and share how you have used these words in your own conversations. By sharing your feedback, you help the show grow and guide us on where to take future topics. Until next time, this is Alex, thanking you for listening to Hello Word and wishing you a confident and exciting journey in learning English. Safe travels and happy practicing!